Okay guys, here's page 2 of the Unit 8 study guide, starting with number 8. Our problem here says your rectangular yard is 10 feet wide and 26 feet long. How many square feet of grass do you need to plant if you want to cover the entire yard? I always like to draw a picture. So I've got a yard that's 26 feet long and 10 feet wide. Not very to scale there. And I know that if I am looking for coverage of a space or an area, I'm going to do the area formula, which is base times height. And so I am going to take 26 times 10, and I know that that is 260. So 260 square feet if I want to, reminder, we can write it either way, if I want to cover that area with grass. Number 9, the label of a paint can states that it contains enough paint to cover 10 meters squared. If you need to paint a wall that measures 2 meters by 4.5 meters, will you have enough paint? Circle yes or no and explain your answer. Well, the first thing I need to know is the area of the wall, and so I'm going to do 2 times 4.5 so that I find out the area of the wall, and I find out that the area of the wall is 9 meters squared. Well, since I have 10 meters squared available to me, it certainly would be enough to paint the wall. So yes, the area of the wall is 9 meters squared, so the can of paint is enough to cover it. All right, in the next section we've got some complex or compound figures, and we're going to have to figure out the area of the shaded sections there. And so I'm going to divide this first one up into 2 parts, and I see that if I take this bottom rectangle, that's a 14 by 14, 14 by 14 here, so 14 by 14, and then I am going to add to that the area of this triangle here. So I know to find the area of a triangle, it's 1/2 the base. The base here is 14 here, and 6 and 6. So 14 plus 6 is 20, plus 6 more is 26. So 1/2 times the base times the height, and we see here that the height is 21. So I'm going to do 14 times 14, and when I multiply 14 times 14, I'm going to get 196. And when I multiply 1/2 times 26 times 21, I'm going to get 273. And when I add those two together, I get 469 inches squared. On this shape over here, what I like to do with shapes like this is I want to figure out what the area of this rectangle would be if it were a complete rectangle, and then I want to subtract this amount. Yeah, I think that's the best way to go here. I could realize that this is a trapezoid also and do base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2 times the height of 5. Either one of those will work. All right, so I'm going to imagine that this was a whole rectangle, and so that would be an 8 times 5. And then I'm going to subtract out the area of this triangle because that's the base I don't want there. And so I see that I know that it's 1/2 times the base times the height. The base of my triangle is 3 here, and the height is equal to 5. And so I'll have 40 here, and then 1/2 times 3 times 5 gives me 7 and 5/10. And when I subtract 7 and 5/10 from 40, I get 32 and 5/10 yards squared. All right, on the next section here, I am looking for volume, and I know that volume is equal to the base times the height times the width. And so I'm going to take my base of 4 1/4 times my height of 2 1/2 times my width of 9 1/4, and I'm glad I get to use a calculator for this. And when I multiply all those together on my calculator, I get 98 and 9/32 feet squared. And my last one here then, volume, again, base times width times height. So volume is equal to 10 times 15 times 12. And when I multiply all those together, I get 1,800 feet squared. All right, that's page 2 of your study guide. Tune into the next video for page 3.